Hare Krishna. So today we continue with our discussion about steadiness in spiritual life. We mentioned in previous classes that first thing to step on the path of devotional service, what is needed? Faith. And this faith should be in what? In scriptures. Yes, of course, scriptures are not different from Krishna in this way. You're correct. But when we step on the path of devotional service, usually we don't know much about Krishna. And it can be considered as a blind faith if you just have faith in God. But the scriptures are revealing the absolute truth. So it's part of inquiring about the absolute truth. So yes, we should have faith in scriptures. And this is important. It seems very simple. Yes, faith in scriptures. Okay. But there are many faiths of different people around us, even devotees, that is not supported. They are not supported by scriptures. So we should not blindly believe anything which is not supported by Shastra. And I mentioned Bhakti Vishramba Madhava Maharaj, who said, very Sanskrit to prove it. Very Sanskrit to prove it. So, if there is no Sanskrit to prove it, then we shouldn't just accept it. Of course, if we are not knowledgeable, we can consider maybe it's true, maybe it's not, I don't know. There is no proof so far. Maybe I'll find proof later on, but I shouldn't just accept it because someone says without any reference to Shastra. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that devotees should be so expert in Shastra. And he had a comparison. Do you know what comparison he did? He said that we should know Shastra as a good lawyer knows the law. And when he defends someone in the court, he quotes, in this paragraph, in this law, it is written like this and this and this. So therefore, the judgment should be like this. And so the devotees also should know and support, and Prabhupada emphasizes this, that every thought, every statement we make, should be supported by Shastra. That we should not just speak something from because of our emotions or ideas or it's commonly accepted like this or anything like this. It should be supported by Shastra. Otherwise, can be at least just delusion of Maya. And mostly, Maya presents things very palatable, very pleasing to the ear. We like to hear like this. And so we tend to accept Maya easily. So we should be very careful not to accept Maya easily. Therefore, these acharyas are known to be, guru means heavy. That means that his words cuts through Maya. They cut through Maya. And sometimes because Maya is really growing in us. That means it's some kind of surgery to cut out this cancer of Maya from our heart. And it may be painful sometimes, but it will help us, it will save us from death. And not just one death, but repeated deaths. Yes. And of course, we know if we have cancer and we have successful surgery, then we are cured and we can live happily ever after. Of course, not on material plane. But this is the idea, to cure ourselves. And so these words of great sadhus, they also cut through our illusion. And this is importance of Sadhu Sanga. Because first is faith in Shastra, and then we have to have Sadhu Sanga, association of those who cut through our illusion. And therefore, the Shastra always stresses that we should be very submissive in front of our spiritual master, in front of spiritual authorities. Tat vidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. That tat vidi, if you want to know this, tat means this, and tat also means Krishna. Yes, this is one indication of Krishna, usually used in Shastra. Om Tat Sat. All those words represent Krishna. And Tat means Krishna. Tat Vidi, if you want to know Krishna, Pranipatena. That means you have to fall down like a stick. Yes. Pranipatena. Pariprashnena. And inquire submissively. Pariprashna means inquire submissively. Not that we know everything. If you know everything, why should we approach a teacher? Because we know. There's no use of learning if you know, isn't it? So, would you like to be treated by a physician or a doctor who knew everything and he didn't want to listen to his professors? I wouldn't. So we should always know that we are conditioned soul. We are conditioned soul. So our ability brought us from life to life, from death to death. So we have no idea how to go beyond material energy on our own. We have never succeeded so far, from time immemorial, life after life. We are trying to be happy. We are trying to be perfect. We are trying to be eternally happy, but of no avail, without any success. So the Krishna system is, you should surrender. Yes. Sarva dharmam parityaja, mam ekam sharanam vraja. That means, surrender only to me. Surrender only to me. And then why we should surrender to Acharya? Why we should surrender to Krishna? To Guru, if Krishna says, surrender only to me. He says, Acharya mam vijanayam navan maneta karhichit. Namartya buddha suyata sarva deva maya guru. That I'm the Acharya. Krishna says, I am Acharya. And we sing every day, Sakshat Haritvana Samasta Shastra. That Guru is no different from Hari. The Guru is not different from Krishna. Of course, he is not Vishnu Tattva, but Krishna works through the Guru and helps us through the Guru. Outside as his representative, as a pure devotee, and inside also as our inner Guru. Yes, in our heart. And we know from this Avadhuta in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, he had 24 gurus. And among them it was a pigeon, a bee, a prostitute, a cloud. And these were all representatives of Krishna. Because he received inspiration how to surrender to Krishna. Although, of course, they weren't Krishna himself, but in fact, in some way they were, because Krishna used them to teach this Avadhuta. So we should be open for Krishna's teaching, and especially if Krishna comes in the form of a pure devotee, we should surrender to him. And this is surrender to Krishna. There's no difference. Yes. And then Guru will tell us the way, how to engage in the process. And this is Guru's Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya. Yes. Bhajana means service or worship. And Kriya means to act. So we perform our service, we perform our worship under the guidance of a spiritual master. And then, of course, it comes the stage of Anartha-Nivritti. Artha is what? What is Artha? So, sorry? I didn't hear you.
Heart, it's not art, heart.
Artha?
Heart.
No, it's not heart. Yes?
There's one translation, maybe wealth.
Wealth, yes. Wealth. We usually translate it as wealth. Or benefit. We can say benefit, yes. Usually we translate it as these four purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Artha is usually translated as wealth or economic development. And this means what people want to have, what people consider to be of value. This is Artha. What is valuable. This is Artha. But Anartha means what is not valuable. What is some obstacle to get something valuable. And usually wealth and economic development is not Artha in fact, but it is Anartha. It's an obstacle to achieve something really valuable many times. So we should know what are the anarthas. By service, of course, we can get free of anarthas. It is explained in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in description of Vyasadeva's trance Anartha-pashamam sakshat bhakti-yoga madokshache. Lokasya janito vidvams chakri satvata samhitam. That we can get rid of all anarthas by devotional service to adokshacha. Yeah. Anartha-pashamam sakshat. Sakshat means completely, yeah, directly. Sakshat. Bhakti yogam adokshaje. By bhakti yoga, by the process of devotional service. But because people don't know this usually, generally, lokasya janito vidvams, chakre satvata samhitam. Therefore, Vyasadeva wrote this great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, we should study Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Nashta Preshva Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Bhagavati Uttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. And because this is the process of devotional service is to serve Srimad Bhagavatam, serve the pure devotees of the Lord. Even before we get rid of all abhadrani, that means all the things that are not auspicious for our devotional service. The devotional service is so powerful that it will become a permanent reality in our heart. It will become naishtiki or nishta bhakti. And our discussion is how to raise our consciousness, raise our devotional practice to the level of nishta, to be fixed, to be steady, never to waver, never to go down. Yes, because this is extremely important. And if we explained, if we don't go beyond these anarthas, we can never taste ruchi. Ruchi is taste. So we can never taste deeper satisfaction. Shri Prahlad Nrsimha ki jai. And this is what we crave for. Because, as we explained many times, and we will explain even further, that we are pleasure-seeking living entities. Anantama-yobisa. This is our nature, very nature. And if we don't find pleasure in something, we will seek pleasure in something else. It's natural, because we want to feel pleasure, because we want to experience pleasure. So we should become fixed in devotional service in order to achieve ruchi. And only by ruchi, if we taste something and we enjoy the taste of something, we become attached to it. If you really enjoy the taste of ice cream or chocolate or I don't know what, then you'll get attached to it. Isn't it true? Then you will want to taste it again and again and again. Yes. Usually over your capacity to consume. If you really like something, like the taste very much, then you will want to consume it more and more and more. And no attachment can be produced without taste. So we have to acquire taste if we want to become attached. But we cannot attain taste without nishta, if we are not fixed in something. Yes, never. So yes, so it's important to go beyond anarthas, and we should know what are the anarthas. Now we will discuss the anarthas. Why there are anarthas? Why we are not just fixed in devotional service? Because this is our nature. Jivara Swarupa, this is our Swarupa, Krishna Nityadas, that we are always the servants of Krishna. Always, every living entity, without exception. If the living entity knows or not, he is a servant of Krishna. All the time. He serves all the time because this is nature. We cannot go out of our nature. So everyone, even the most ardent atheist and selfish person in the world, serves Krishna 24 hours a day. And no one else. Just Krishna. So, then where these anartas come from? Yes, please.
In the Bhagavatam, I was studying this actually. I haven't studied, but reading and thinking. I was reading and thinking a little about this the last few days. Those 4 verses where it's described how Vyasadeva is going into meditation, and then he's compiling the Bhagavatam. And then the verse before the verse you quoted, it says that the living entities, although they are transcendental, they identify with material energy, and therefore anartas
Come. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because of our avidya. Vidya means knowledge, and avidya, of course, means ignorance, the opposite of knowledge. And because of this avidya, who we really are, it's because of the influence of Maya, we identify with something that we are not. This material body, of course. And not just our body, and that I'm a man or a woman or a dog or a cat or a Slovenian or German or Chinese or anything like this. Or a teacher or a student, or a Hare Krishna or a Muslim or a Christian. These are all external designations, nothing to do with our soul, with our eternal position. And we identify also not just with our body and these conditions we mentioned, but also with our family, with our nation, with our culture, with our mother tongue, with our environment, with our friends, with everything that surrounds us. We have our world in which we live, and we consider this world to be part of our existence. And we identify with this existence. And because of this identification, this is called asmita. Asmi means I am. Asmita means this identification with all we mentioned. Then comes raga. Raga means attachment. So we are attached to everything that supports this idea. This is me. And all this world we mentioned, our language, our environment, our football club, our favorite food, our ideas. We identify with all this, and we are attached to everything we consider that supports my world. And we hate, this is dvesha, we hate everything that we consider that potentially endangers my world with which I identify. Then I hate this. I don't want this. I want to get rid of this. And because of these material considerations, that comes abhinivesha, a great absorption in material life. And because of this great absorption in material consciousness, comes fear. So, abhinivesha means this great absorption in matter and fear. Fear. Therefore, everyone is afraid in this material world. Everyone is afraid. And if we don't completely depend on the Lord, we are afraid. So we can test if we are afraid of anything or something. We are not completely dependent on the Lord. Complete dependence on the mercy of the Lord is one of the 6 types of surrender. Yeah. Goptritvi varnam tatha. Yes. So anarthas come from this because of avidya, as you said, because of maya, because we identify with something we are not. So as long as we have this strong identification with matter, with all that I mentioned, all this world of ours, then we cannot go beyond anarthas. Because these anarthas, we consider them, these are not just some forces from outside, these anarthas, but these are forces from inside. As long as we consider this, our conditional world, we just mentioned, as important for our existence, we cannot get rid of these anarthas, because these anarthas are part of raga, attachments to everything that supports my existence. So we should have Krishna raga and understand and dvesha for everything that go against it. So this raga and dvesha are natural, but as long as we have misidentification, are wrongly directed. So yes, and then because of our material existence, we live either piously or sinfully, and so on. And therefore, these anarthas come from, they're classified as dushkritota. Dushkrita means to act sinfully. Because we know the law of karma. It's simple. Whatever act you perform, it have 2 kinds of effects. One is, of course, the reaction of our action. This usually we understand as a karma. But there is also inclination to do this again. It comes into our heart. For example, what is national sport here in Germany? Do you have any specific national sport? Football. Yes. So I believe most, at least, men have played football in their life. Correct? And so because of this playing football, it's not just that you play football and there are consequences that you are tired and kicked in your legs, but there is also inclination to play football again in our heart, isn't it? For example, some Bushmen in Africa, in the deserts of Africa, who have never played football in their life and they don't even know what is football. This idea or desire to play football never crosses their mind, because they have no inclination in their heart to play football. And so whatever action we perform, so they have 2 kinds of effects. First, of course, is the reaction, and the second is this inclination, which is called seed. Yes, bija. And because of these seeds of material desires, there are different kinds of anarthas, we say. First is dushkritota. Because of our sinful reactions, we have sinful desires in our heart. Because we have sinful seeds. And because of these sinful desires, we act sinfully. Or we have, at least we are struggling against sinful tendencies. We know that this is not good and we don't act upon them, but this is strong desire in our heart. And it's difficult to give it up. And then the second types of anartas seems very interesting, are sukritota. So they come from sukriti means from pious actions. And there are, of course, also material actions, even though they are pious. And so they are we are conditioned to for pious activities. And of course, we know that pious activities are not transcendental activities. So they are also anartas, if they put an obstacle to our devotional service. And then other types of desires come from aparatas. Radha means the perfect servant. Radharani, we know, is the perfect servant of Krishna. And aparada is something against Radha, against the service of Krishna. That means disservice. So there are inclinations in our heart that comes from aparada, from offenses. We usually translate aparada as an offense. And so it's important to know what these aparadas are. We'll discuss this. And then there are obstacles to devotional studies, bhakti-yoga. That means obstacles that come from devotional service itself. Very interesting, huh? Because if we are performing devotional service, some benefits will come from performing of devotional service. We become calm, we become knowledgeable, we become respected from others. And of course, if we become attached to these facilities that are brought by devotional service and proud of them and proud of our devotional service, proud of our position, then it's again aparada. It's again anarta. It's again anarta. An obstacle for performing devotional service. Yes, and all these anartas, they not that just stems from these things, but they have consequences also. And it's explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they cause hridaya dorbalyam. Hridaya means heart, and dorbalyam means weakness of the heart. And because of these weaknesses in our heart, we are attached to material enjoyment, for example. And we, because we want to be in a position of Krishna, we criticize others, as we discussed before. This is all weaknesses of the heart. And then the next consequence of anartas are aparadas again. From aparadas, they come and they cause further aparadas, further offenses. So this vicious cycle. So it's important to get out of it. Yes. And then they cause asat trishna. Asat means something that is not permanent, is under the influence of Maya. This is asat. And Trishna means the thirst, that we are thirsty for material things, basically. Want to achieve material enjoyment and material things and so on. This is asat Trishna. We have strong desires for material enjoyment, for material things. Yes. And then it is tattva vibrama. The consequence of anarthas is that we don't understand properly the philosophy. We don't understand properly who is Krishna, who are we, what is the process of devotional service, what is our goal, and therefore we are full of improper desires and so on. Or we have false idea what is tattva, what is absolute truth, and how to achieve it. Yes. And as long as we have wrong ideas, what is Krishna, what is the pure path of devotional service, that long we cannot achieve anything, really, in devotional service. So we should get rid of these anarthas. We should go beyond these anarthas. So most dangerous form of anarthas are aparatas. And we have different types of aparatas. For example, seva aparada is offenses against the deity of the Lord. And there are different offenses to the deities of the Lord. One very well known is to come to the temple with shoes on, or in the palanquin. For example, kings were visiting the temple, and they had to get off the palanquin and go to the temple on their feet, and bare feet, of course, not in their shoes. And then there are other offenses. There are many offenses to the deities. So there are different different lists of offenses to the deities. So many there are. To sleep in front of the deity, to sit on the bare floor in front of the deity, to have our legs stretched in front of the deity, to lie down in front of the deity, to speak loudly in front of the deity, to glorify someone else in front of the deity. So many offenses. But these offenses are not the worst. It is explained in Shastra that we can easily transcend those offenses against the deities and against Krishna directly by chanting the holy name. So by chanting the holy name, we get rid of all these offenses immediately. But there is a danger. If we knowingly perform those offenses to the deity, and we consider that the holy name will protect us from those offenses to the deity, then it becomes nama aparada, the offense against the holy name. That we perform nonsense and we consider that the holy name will purify us. And nama aparadas are the greatest and the most difficult form of anartha, because it will not go away by itself. So the holy name is the most merciful manifestation of Krishna. But if the holy name itself is offended, the holy name cannot purify us. We can be purified of all kinds of sins. It is described that one holy name can purify us from more sins that we are able to commit. And that doesn't mean only in this life. In all sins from previous life, all sins from this life, all sins from future lives. All sins altogether. But if we perform those sins and we consider that the holy name will protect us and purify us, then it becomes not just a sin, it becomes an offense. An offense is much graver than sin. And we can never go out of this world with offenses in our heart. So this is counted as such an offense that if someone performs it knowingly, he or she is not considered a devotee at all, not a Vaishnava. Yes, there are few such offenses. So we should know what are the offenses against the holy name. Many times we repeat these offenses before chanting our japa. But we tend to not go deeply what they really mean. And therefore, we do offenses without consideration. So, the first offense, the most grave offense, is to criticize the devotees. Devotees are extremely dear to the Lord. Every living entity is dear to the Lord. Even most sinful living entities, even most degraded living entities, even lowest of living entities are Krishna's parts and parcels. Non-different from the Lord. They're eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. So they're extremely dear to the Lord. So there are one set of aparatas we didn't mention so far. There are jiva aparatas, aparatas against the living entities. So we should be very careful not to offend any living entity. What to speak of Lord's devotees? For the devotees, Krishna says, Hridayo, how it's called? Sadhanam hridayam tvaham, sadhavo hridayam tvaham, sadhavo hridayam mahyam, yes, sadhavo hridayam mahyam, sadhanam hridayam tvaham, madanatina jananti naham tibyo managapi. The devotees are my heart. Devotees are my heart. And they know only me, and I know only my devotees. and for example, for Jnani in Bhagavad-Gita, in 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says that Jnani is as good as myself. So those who have spiritual knowledge are as good as myself. He first enlists 4 types of pious living entities, pious personalities, and then he says, Udarak sarvayevite jnanat vatmaiva mematam. That they're all noble living entities, but jnanit vatmaiva mematam. That he is the same as myself. But for his devotee, for Uddhava, for example, he says he's more than myself. He's more dear to me than my own self. So we should know that devotees are more dear to the Lord than he is dear to himself. If you offend devotees, this is extreme type of offense. And as explained in ninth canto, that Krishna cannot protect you if you commit Vaishnava Aparada. Yes. And the example of this is, of course, Durvasa Muni, who offended Maharaj Ambarisha. Yes. And he was running in front of Sudarshan Chakra all over the universe, and even he went to Vaikuntha, to Lord Narayan, to protect him. And then he said this verse we quoted, that devotees are in my heart. And I cannot protect you. Only if you go to Maharaj Ambarish and beg him forgiveness, then you can be saved. But this asking for forgiveness is not just a formality. So if we offend a devotee, and then we consider, oh, this might be not beneficial for my devotional service, so better to ask forgiveness. And we go and we just, I'm sorry, Prabhu. But we don't consider it seriously. This is not proper excuse, yes. It's not proper mentality. And so what is properly asking for forgiveness is to really, from all our heart, we regret our offense, and we serve these devotees as far we can, as far as is our ability to serve him, because we want to get his favor. We want to get his blessing. If we don't serve him and we just say we are sorry, we didn't do much, and the scar we produced still remains in the devotee's heart. So even because the devotees are saintly personalities, they forgive us even before we ask for forgiveness. But if we don't act properly, and we don't regret these offenses really from the depths of our heart, then this so-called asking for forgiveness will not have effect on our consciousness. We will not regret them really, in reality. It will be just a formality. And formality have no effect. Not at all. Therefore, this is a Krishna consciousness movement. It's the question of our consciousness. With what kind of consciousness we do something. It's not just the deed we perform, but in what consciousness we perform something. So it's not just worship. We worship Krishna and we think of our girlfriend. I don't know what. And what we'll get for prasad. And if I worship too long this deity, maybe I'll be without prasad. Because devotees will eat everything. So it's the question of consciousness, with what consciousness we perform something. Because if someone is thinking how to enjoy prasad, And the one who really worships Krishna with all his heart externally looks completely the same. Or maybe this one who meditates on his enjoying prasad, he's even more expert in how to perform arati, for example. Externally, he's more expert than one who performs arati with all his heart, or worship with all his heart. But Krishna is saragrahi. He accepts the essence. So he accepts our consciousness, not our expertise, our external expertise. So if we just externally beg for forgiveness, Krishna cannot be fooled. We can fool others, and we can fool ourselves also. And we are expert in fooling ourselves. But we can never fool Krishna. We can never fool Krishna. Yes, so this Vaishnava Parada is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. And then to consider everything as separate from the Lord. If you consider that demigods can give them their blessings without the Lord's mercy, then it's offense. Or to consider them separate from the Lord. That the holy name is different from the demigods. No. Everything is absolute truth. Vedanti tattvavidas tattvam yajnana madvayam brahmati paramatmatish bhagavan iti shabdati. Everything is absolute reality. So no demigods can be separate from the Lord. No powerful living entity is separate from the Lord. And we think maybe here in the West we have this problem. No one is worshipping demigods. But we worship unknowingly powerful personalities. Our boss in our job to get better salary. And this is a kind of demigod worship. Or we support such and such famous living entity. And we glorify one sportsman, and we glorify certain politicians. And this is demigod worship, if we know it or not. Or we seek some benefit from others. This is demigod worship. And then the third offense is not to follow the order of the spiritual master. This is also very, very severe offense. Because as we explained, Krishna says, Acharya mam vijanayat, navan manyeta karhichit. That Krishna himself is an Acharya. He himself is Guru. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. All Shastras explain that Guru is directly Krishna. So if we don't follow the order of the spiritual master, that is the same, we don't follow Krishna. We want to maintain our independence. And idea of our independence, as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's called Pritak Bhava. Pritak means separate, and Bhava means existence. So Pritak Bhava, we have this Pritak Bhava from time immemorial. So if we continue in our spiritual life in this Pritak Bhava, then we can never achieve spiritual consciousness. So we should know we are servants of the Lord. We are servants of spiritual master. We accept his instructions. Of course, before we accept someone, as the spiritual master. We should understand who is qualified to be a spiritual master and who is not, and we try to accept those for our spiritual masters that are most deeply in love with Krishna, and that they know Shastra. They know Shastra. Yes. Then the fourth offense is, of course, to criticize Vedas and every scriptures, holy scripture. And of course, we should know that the holy scriptures, even if they not present pure devotional service, are meant to bring certain population, certain conditioned souls to the path of pure devotional service. Somehow or other, we are not intelligent enough to see the whole path of some living entity. Maybe it stretches for many lifetimes. Who would know? We have no such vision. So Krishna, the purpose of different scriptures is to bring living entities to Krishna, somehow or other. So they are all holy, and we shouldn't criticize them. Then it is artavad. Artavad is consideration that the glory of the holy name is something imaginary, or it is overstated. We mentioned before, once we utter the holy name, we can get rid of all sins. The more sins we are able to commit. So if we think that such statements are exaggeration, or that they are just imaginary, this is an offense. This is an offense. And is counted as one of those offenses that we are not even Vaishnava if we commit them. So it's so grave offense. And then if we interpret holy name in our own imagination, for example, the chanting of the holy name is good to calm down our mind, or to or to become healthy, or I don't know what. We have some explanation what is the holy name. And then comes this one of the most grave offenses. Yes, please.
I was thinking that it also brings, it's a kind of like a side effect also, that it brings this calmness also, like the chanting of the mantras. So in one way it does this kind of effect, but it's not the main one. Or maybe you would like to speak.
Yes. We should know that the process of devotional service bring many side effects. For example, one is, of course, to become calm, peaceful, because, as we explained, if we surrender to Krishna, then only we become fearless. And if you are fearful, that means that you are full of anxieties, you're not peaceful. And if you're fearless, that means you are peaceful. Nothing can disturb you, really. So this is one effect. The next effect is, of course, to be liberated from the material world. But this is also a side effect. The purpose of the holy name is not to become liberated from this world. And if we interpret the holy name as that it's meant for liberation, it's also an offense. It's not meant for liberation. This is a side effect of the holy name. Yes, and all other side effects. Also, it's scientifically proven. If we pray or chant mantras, it's very beneficial for our health. But this is also a side effect. It's not meant for this purpose. And then the seventh offense we stressed before. It's one of the most grave offenses. Is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the chanting of the holy name. So we do something sinful. We eat meat, or we get intoxicated, or we have illicit sex, and we consider the holy name will deliver me from my sinful activities. This is the most grave offense, and we will have severe consequences. And I forgot to mention in connection to Vaishnava Aparada, if we offend Vaishnavas, this is described that then such an offender will be destroyed by the holy name itself. Holy name itself will destroy such an offender. And when Lord Chaitanya liberated Jaga and Madhya, the most two sinful personalities one can imagine, he became completely black. And then by kirtan he again regained his golden complexion. And he declared that those sins of Jaga and Madhya will go to the persons who commit Vaishnava Aparada. So, because reactions must go somewhere, and it is described that pious reactions of someone who is liberated go to those who supported this person and who were inclined to him, who were nice to him. They reap pious karma from a person who is liberated, because he has no karma. But these reactions must go somewhere. And those who criticize such a liberated person, they reap the consequences of his sins. So, if we offend the Vaishnava, we reap the consequences of the sins of Jaga and Madhya. Hare Krishna. And they are unlimited, practically. So, yes. And eighth offense, which is one of the most dangerous offenses, is, but we usually don't consider it properly, is to consider the holy name to be materially beneficial. We repeat this offense, is that we consider it as one of the process of karma kanda, don't we? And then we consider, of course, I don't perform karma kanda. But this means, basically, it is that we consider it to be materially beneficial. So, if I chant with prayerful desire, please Krishna, I'm suffering, please get me free from suffering. Get me free from my toothache. Get me free of my disease. Please let me achieve peace. Let me achieve good job. Let me, please Krishna, let me, I don't know, get a good husband or good wife or good children. Let me have good relationship with other people. Let me have a nice house and peaceful life. All these are offenses against the holy name. Considering that the holy name is meant for material prosperity. No, it's not. It's meant for to bring us to the level of pure, unalloyed love to Krishna. This is the only purpose of chanting of the holy name. And if we instruct others who are faithless about the holy name, is also an offense. So this is a secret. Shastra always explained it. This is a secret. This is guhyam, guhyataram, and this is a rahasya. This is a secret. Of course, it's open secret for those who want to know. But if someone doesn't want to know, it's an offense to instruct him and speaking about the glories of the holy name. As Jesus said, you shouldn't throw gems in front of the pigs, because these gems will be trampled, and these pigs, these swines, will go against you. So we should be careful not to throw these gems of the holy name in front of the pigs. Yes, because this is an offense. And the 10th offense is to remain materially attached, even though we are chanting the holy name. And these attachments are unlimited. We are attached to our home, we are attached to our position, we are attached to our bed, we are attached to our food, we are attached to so many things we cannot imagine. We are attached to our pen, we are attached to our car, we are attached to our children, we are attached to our husband, we are attached to our wife, we are attached to our relatives, we are attached to our friends, we are attached to everything. Unlimited attachments. Therefore, Queen Kunti is praying, Ata Vishvesha Vishwatman Vishwamurti Svakeshami Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridam Pandishu Vrishnishu. Please, Krishna, sever these attachments to Vrishnis and Pandavas, who were pure devotees, who were Lord's personal associates. Please sever these attachments to Vrishnis and Pandavas. Dridam, these are Sneha Pasha. Sneha Pasha means the ropes of affection, which are very strong. Dridam, Pandushu, Vrishnishu, towards Pandus and Vrishnis. So, and Tvami Mananya Vishaya Matir Madhuspati Sahrit. Ratim Udvahatada, Gauge Bangamatanvati. Let my affection flows only towards you, like the river of Ganges, who goes to the sea, whatever obstacle is there. If the river cannot destroy an obstacle, goes around it or beyond it or over it, but it goes by this obstacle and flows towards the sea. So our attachment should be only to Krishna. And of course we are attached to devotees in the sense, and we are attached to our service to Krishna, because they all help us in this connection with Krishna. We should understand this, that our attachment should be to Krishna, and we should pray for attachment to Krishna. That doesn't mean that we are not serving the devotees. We should serve devotees. They are representatives of Krishna. They are extremely dear to Krishna. And the foremost example how we should be focused on Krishna are the gopis from Vrindavan, because they are the most perfect servants of Krishna. When Krishna played his flute, they dropped everything. In this very moment, they didn't consider, I'm baking this cake in the oven. They didn't consider I'm breastfeeding my child. They didn't consider I'm serving my in-laws, father and mother of my husband. They didn't consider anything. They just dropped everything and just ran to the Lord. So we should strive for this surrender, such type of surrender to the Lord. Therefore, it is described that we are servants of the gopis, that we should strive to be servants of the gopis, to be there, to meditate upon this, how to serve the gopis. And Lord Chaitanya also taught us like this: Naham vipra nachanarapatir, napaveshu nashudro, naham vipra nachanarapatir, no vanasto yatirva, kintu prodan paramananda purnamrita vidir, gopi parduh padakamalior dasa dasa dasa. That we are the servants of the servants of the servants of one who supports gopis, who is the master of the gopis. And of course, if we are servants of the servants of the servants of the master of the gopis, that means we are servants of the gopis. Yes. Okay. These are offenses which are most grave types of anartas. Most grave type of anartas. And all anartas, we should know how deep impressions are left with these anartas. It is explained that we get rid of these anartas in different stages. This is very technical. Eka desha vartmini, that we very partially get rid of these anartas. And bahu desha vartini, that we are almost we transcend many of the anartas. And then praiki, we almost transcend all these anartas. And purna, we are completely bereft of the anartas, but this is not the end. Then is atyantiki. Only by atyantiki we are there is no trace of anartas anymore. And most of the of the aparatas are completely pure, even atyantiki, that there is no trace of these anartas in the stage of nishtha. So it's so important to get in the state of nishtha. But Vaishnava aparadas, and these aparadas to the holy name Nama aparadas, they stay with us even on the stage of prema. They are purna, that means completely purified. But for example, if we have a wound, a cut in our hand, or in our arm, then first it will be healed a little bit, but still can open very quickly. And this is Eka Deshavartini. And then Bahu Deshavartini is almost, it's not almost, but it's very, it's much better than it was. And then Praiki, it's almost cured. And Purna is completely pure, cured, but it's still a scar visible. It's completely cured, it won't cut again, but scar is still visible. So these offenses against the holy name are scars that are visible also in the stage of prema. And they are purified atyantiki, that even these scars are gone. It's only when we receive personal darshan of Krishna. Then we are cured atyantiki. So we should know how dangerous these offenses are, and we should guard against them. Okay. Do you have any questions or doubts? Yes, please.
It is a very intuitive question now. Maybe you have explained everything already, but I didn't get it. Is that what is the practical manifestation of the result of the offenses to the holy name, and especially to devotees? Like, you mentioned that the impression of the scarring will stay, and even until one gets the darshan of the Lord, which means that they will affect us all the way until we get this kind of mercy. And so, what is the practical manifestation? How does it look in the life of a devotee who has committed those offenses more? And how does it look in the life of a devotee who has practiced those offenses less or not at all?
Yes, this is an important question. So we are completely without any trace when we receive personal darshan of Krishna. But before we achieve this state, there are scars in the way that we don't experience the nectar of devotional service as much. For example, Rupa Goswami, he performed unknowingly an offense to a Vaishnava. He was, of course, pure devotee of the Lord. And he, in his meditation on Krishna's pastimes, he was completely absorbed in his meditation, in samadhi, in fact. And in Krishna's pastimes, there was something funny. And he started to laugh. But at that very moment, one devotee who had some physical defect came by. And he thought that Rupa Goswami is laughing to him because of his physical defect. And he felt offended. And then the samadhi of Rupa Goswami broke, and he couldn't enter it again, and he couldn't taste the holy name again as he was tasting it before. So yes, we should know how dangerous are these offenses, even if committed unknowingly. Of course, if they are committed unknowingly, then they are not held as severely against us. So Rupa Goswami was advised by Sanatana Goswami to perform a great feast and invite all the devotees. And he will see the devotee who will not appear was offended somehow or other. And so you should go and beg him forgiveness. And he followed this instruction. And then he knew which devotee was offended, because he didn't appear on the feast. And all devotees are enthusiastic to participate in feasts. Yes. So yes. and other example is kirtans of Lord Chaitanya in the Shiva Sangam. Even if there was someone who was not a devotee present, even if he was a saintly personality, very pious, for example, this Brahmana who drank only milk and eat just fruits, he was so austere. The Lord couldn't taste really deeply the nectar of the holy name. So if we have traces of this offensive consciousness, we cannot give satisfaction to the Lord. And even if we are completely cured, but this remembrance of these offenses is still stocked in our heart. Maybe we don't recall them to remember them, to think about them, but it's still in our heart, stocked. Then the Lord will not be as pleased as He should be with us. This is example of these kirtans of Lord Chaitanya. Yes. So we should really regret our offenses, because we are full of offenses, and just pray for the mercy. We should we should cry for the mercy, because it's not in our power to get rid of anything. It is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shrimvatam svakatah Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantak stohya badrani vidunotis hritsatam. That Krishna himself will purify our heart when he is satisfied with our attitude, with constant hearing and chanting. And therefore we depend completely on Krishna's mercy. Yes, and Krishna explains this also in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Devi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadanti maya metantarantiti. That we cannot possibly go beyond this maya, beyond this illusion. Only if we surrender to Him, we can transcend it. So, as Guru Govinda Maharaj explained, when he opened the temple in Bhubaneswar, that he opened the school for crying. So we should cry for Krishna's mercy and no other hope. Okay? Any other question or comment?
In the path of Krishna consciousness and spirituality, there are times when we make mistakes, so what do we tell ourselves to get back up and be better, rather than letting the mistakes drag us down?
Yes, this is explained in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jatashradatumatkatasu nirvinak sarvakarmasu veda dukkhatmakankaman parityage pyanishvara tato bhajetamam pritah shradalurtitanishcha jushamanashrastankaman dukkhodarham shagarhayan. That even though we commit mistakes and we are addicted to these mistakes and we cannot give them up, we should just happily perform our devotional service and regret our inability to get rid of those mistakes, or that we committed mistakes in our life. But we should enthusiastically perform devotional service in happy mood. Of course, we should regret our mistakes. We should regret our inability to give up mistakes, but we should happily perform devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. And then the Lord will purify our heart. So we should know that only devotional service can help us. So mistakes or no mistakes, we should surrender. But if we commit mistakes, we should surrender with more humility. And who didn't commit any mistake? We all commit mistakes. It's our conditioned nature. So, therefore, as Guru Govinda Maharaj said, we should learn to cry for Krishna's mercy. Of course, these tears should not be false tears, crocodile tears. Because it will be further cheating. It should. That means we should have ardent desire to achieve pure devotional service. Pure devotional service, not mixed. Pure devotional service. Yes. So we should know what is pure devotional service, and with ardent desire follow the path given by the acharyas. Yes, this is the solution, the only solution. Anything else? Okay, it's time for prasad. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi, Hari Hari Bol.